So Mark White of Houston, formerly of the sunny Isle of Great Britain. For
Yes.
the last 21 years, you've been in the US, haven't you?
I have, yeah, 15 in Houston, and got the table at home just 3 years ago.
Yeah, terrific, which we can see in the background there. And you've just
Yep.
had it reclothed,
Yep.
and reclothed on bed and cushions. And you had 94 and 97 world pool champion, English pool champion, Rob McKenna over for some practice.
Rob McKenna came to visit me, yep. Good friend of mine.
And unfortunately, though, the highlight wasn't captured on camera, but you do have a witness and an honourable witness. Tell us what happened in that solitary frame.
Yeah, well, they were here for a week, and we were playing snooker most days, and we just forgot about the camera really because we were too busy competing with each other. And both Rob and Pat Holtz both competed at pool at a high level and decent at snooker, and so you can imagine we're just all trying to beat each other's brains out. It's all ultra competitive. Get a lot of stick at the end of every day if you didn't win, and so yeah. I mean, Pat wasn't in the room at the time. He'd gone off to do something on his laptop. Just started a frame. Rob left me a fairly easy red to begin with, and the reds were fairly open. But I was shooting from around the black spot to a red in the middle pocket, and I had to go in and out of bulk to get back down for the first black, and I landed on it perfect, and then just started stroking them in, and it was fairly uneventful, and I suppose until I got to about, well, I was on about 30 when I had to use my brand new extended spider, which I'd stuck onto one of my rest poles, but I hadn't glued it on. And so I'm thinking, this might actually fall to pieces while I'm playing this shot. But I didn't really think much of it because I was only on about 30 at the time. If I'd have been on about 80 or 90 at that time, I was probably going to glue it on. But exactly, yeah, a glue timeout. But no, that was okay. And then I got to about 70 because I haven't had many total clearances. And it's a funny feeling when you get to about 70 and you look around and you see so many reds left.
Yeah.
It's wow. It's this could be a decent break on here. Before that, I'd gone into the pack fairly early. In fact, Rob actually said to me afterwards he thought I went into the pack a little bit too early. But it was one of those where you just could not fail to land on something if you went into the pack. So I thought, let's get after it. Nice controlled split. Didn't have to hit them too hard, and sure enough. And in fact, actually, I think that was when I left myself the extended spider shot. So I was bridging over something, but there was no way I could fail to get on it, and it was a straight shot. So then
you're on 70. You see all these reds open, and
yep.
Any other eventful shots or junctures in the break till you get to the colours?
I played a shot. I think there were about three reds left, and I just ran too far for the blue, and ended up having to take a green. But that's how uneventful this break was. It was, really nice break. I was in good position for the large majority of the break. There were no real, excellent recovery shots, anything like that.
So in some regards, you end up thinking, well, that wasn't very exciting.
I know, yeah. It reminded me actually of when I used to play golf a little bit, and I once shot a 38 on the back at golf, and it included 3 birdies. And I thought, it's not as enjoyable. I didn't get as many shots, I didn't zigzag the course as much.
Less value for money.
It's quite boring when you're good at it, So it was a little bit like that feeling, right? It's not supposed to be this easy. But that's really how it was, just working the white ball really well, and the new cloth was really helping. I mentioned to you as well, I got a new cue a couple of months ago, the new Tom Param cue, which just feels so much nicer. I can stroke the ball much better. Just feel the shots easier, and of course with a faster cloth, then I didn't have to hit anything as hard. And
yeah, great.
the pockets are not generous. The pockets are quite tight. Both of the guys were saying, these are a really good test, these pockets, and if you don't hit them right, you're not going to get it, especially anything close to the rail. So
then you mop up all the colours, not very eventful. You're in positional time, which is how all the best breaks are made. I mean, I think most club players would be amazed at how simple most shots are in most professional century breaks. I think there's a perception that a century break is very difficult, but actually, if you get a ton, by inference, you've set yourself up with good positional shots.
Yeah, exactly. And every now and then there's a great recovery shot, but they're just putting the weight exactly where they want to do.
Yeah.
And I was conscious of the ton, and I think it was a pink that I got to get the ton. And then there's I'm just trying to do the math here. Actually, I think I got the ton. What is it? 137. So I got the ton, and there's still a red on.
Yeah.
Right. So, then only then I start thinking, wait a minute, my highest break's on here.
So you only realised that after you reached a ton.
After I reached the ton, yeah.
You're so focused on crossing the ton line.
That's right.
I mean, how many tons do you reckon you've had in your life?
Probably 30-ish.
Okay. All right.
In a frame with somebody, lots on my own in practice, but in a frame against somebody probably. And the thing is with me, Nick, I play most of my snooker on my own. Yeah. It's rare to get somebody to compete with like that because, living in Houston, not many snooker players. And I've been in the US for 21 years, so not many snooker players around.
Yeah.
But
so
about 50.
Your highest before that was a 128 total clearance, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. Back in about 1990, on a table with big pockets and a light white, and that's really the kind of environment I grew up playing snooker in. So
okay. So you're thinking about now your highest break. Then what happens?
I remember one red near the pink. Pink to yellow was academic, and then I was in perfect position for every color.
Right.
I felt a little bit nervous. The weirdest one was, I'm on a 130, and I've left myself a straight black, and I'm physically shaking. I'm physically shaking on the straight black, and I should have stood up. I was physically shaking that much, and it was so straight. It was only 10 inches from the black. That's like, it doesn't matter. I can shake all day long. I can't miss this.
So the pink.
I did, and I got it.
The pink you weren't shaking, but the black you were.
Yeah. It was weird. It just came from nowhere. I was a bit nervous on all the colours, but not shaking. But yeah, all of a sudden it kicked in on the black. Quite bizarre. Yeah. And it's funny. I mean, it's for nothing really. It's just for your high break, but it means so much to us, doesn't it?
Yeah. I remember I typed yesterday in one social media post that I remember one match where I had so much pressure that my eyes were doing that. The heartbeat was so strong I couldn't see the shots properly.
Yeah. And I mean a sad story actually. We used to play pool with an old guy who would physically shake and take very, very deep breaths when he's playing a league match, just a regular league match. And for some strange reason, we always used to put him on last, and occasionally it was 4-all. And this immense pressure, he just couldn't take it. And so bad, I mean, so bad is this, Nick. Eventually, a few years ago, he died in that situation. He died of a heart attack in that situation. So, I mean, why do we do it to ourselves? It's a silly game. We put ourselves under so much pressure.
Say that again.
Because we think it means so much to us.
Yeah.
But yeah, so don't take it too seriously. And if you start shaking, stand up. That's my advice to everybody.
Oh my God.
Not worth dying for.
Yeah, well, so anyway, that's for a 137. And
Yeah.
out of interest, did you roll it in or did you stun it?
I just stunned it in, yeah.
Yeah. And was it then running around the snooker room screaming your head off, or cool as a cucumber?
No, you know, Rob is a great guy, and he was so pleased for me. You know, I don't think he knew. I didn't mention it, that it was my highest break, until I'd made it, and I said, "Oh, that's my highest break." He said, "Oh, no way!" And he was so happy for me. You know, yeah. So a couple of hugs and high fives, and yeah, good stuff.
Fantastic. So that talks us through the break, and it's really interesting the different phases one has during the break. So you got up to 30 and sorting the balls out, a couple of spider shots, setting the stage, and then you get to 70 and hang on, there's another 70 points remaining, and
exactly, yeah.
And then you focus on getting the ton, and to the extent that you don't even know you're on your highest break.
Yep.
And then the battle to get on the yellow correctly, and that should, in theory, be plain sailing, but it often isn't, is it?
No, not at all. No, it just. But there was one tip you'd given me a couple of weeks ago that I didn't mention. You know, on yellow and green now, you told me to play them with running side, and you know that I did that on that break, and I've been doing that since, and it makes so much sense, and it's
so you did
easier
you have,
shot.
So instead of stunning off the cushion, if you've got the angle, if it's just too oblique for to play. So what we're saying is, I don't know if you can see this, but so if top spin is going to go in here, just a little bit of left-hand side to open the angle a bit.
Exactly.
And same on the green. Did you have the same shot on the green as well?
I don't remember. I only remember it on the yellow.
You had it on the yellow because I
think I came back perfect for the green off that yellow shot with that side.
Yeah, so much easier. Because what most players do, they tend to stun the ball, and then it's so easy to land on the cushion or up by the blue.
Yeah. And that's the shot I was playing before you gave me that advice.
Yeah. Yeah, great. And that shot also is very useful off the black, where we're high on the black and topspin's just going to cannon the red by the pink. Touch of running side brings the white a bit closer to us. Yeah. And we're a perfect position on the pink. It's so much easier to control than trying to delicately fade or stun or spread the white ball in. And so easy to land on the cushion, or the stun turns to topspin and you end up worse for wear anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Great. Yeah, another little shot in your repertoire. Well done.
Yes. And I mentioned to you also that I'd stopped tweaking. I'd stopped tweaking my game, and I was just playing the game now. And then you know, so the break was great, but during that week, I'm missing too much. So then you get back to tweaking, right, and wondering what's wrong. And that's when I just a couple of days ago told you that I've changed my sighting pattern, so that I'm now looking at cue ball when I strike.
Time will tell, but I think if you just allow yourself one thing a month or something to tinker with and test, let's say, then you know, I don't see anything wrong with that. But ultimately, the more you mess around with things, the less ingrained things will be under pressure.
I struggled with my sighting for a while. I was tinkering with my sight lines for quite a bit, and couldn't really decide where I wanted to stand and where I wanted the cue to start. You know, on my body, outside my right leg, inside my right leg. You know, am I aiming over my left eye, or is it center?
But
I've finally found my vision center, and my stance, and I feel really good about that.
Yeah.
So I'm not tinkering that, at least, and you know, that really affects your confidence if you've got this feeling that you're just not seeing the line right.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's obviously you've got to then cue the line right, but if you're not seeing the line right, you've got no chance. Doesn't matter how well you cue.
If you're not standing on the line either, then you're just cueing in the corner. And so if we go back to what helped you knock in this 137 lifetime best, then devising a set of default settings sounds as though it helped you just concentrate on the game more. Is that right?
Yeah, without a doubt. Getting into those repeatable patterns where, and again, credit you, I think I first started talking with you maybe 2 or 3 years ago now. And the simple things, it's funny, both of those pool players kept leaving their chalk on the table. And it was irritating me.
Yeah.
And, they obviously did it more then afterwards. But because I've got my chalk in my pocket since you told me to.
Yeah.
Because it keeps you away from the table and allows you to walk into the shot the way you should.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm doing that on every shot. I'm aiming while I'm stood up. I'm watching the line up. I'm watching the object ball all the way down to my hand on the table in the position before I look at the cue ball.
Yeah.
Making sure that when I'm turning my attention to the cue ball, the cues are already in the right place. Right. So those things now are very repeatable for me.
Right.
And that's a rock solid foundation, and my aim is in the right place. So now I focus on my stroke. I sorted my grip out finally. You remember that I tended to have a floating thumb.
Yeah.
And I think I was a bit confused about the grip. I thought that some of the best players had all 4 fingers wrapped around the cue, because you often don't get the right view of the grip on TV. And so really it's about just the first finger and wrapping that nice and snug with the thumb, and then letting the other fingers.
So you thought the fingers had to maintain this shape all the way through instead of opening, which if the camera was underneath the player, you'd see with some of them the thumb finger totally opening.
Exactly right. Yeah, except the first finger. So the first finger doesn't open.
With you?
With me, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, for some players it doesn't always, but there are pros who do open. Steve Lee, notably, great cue power. So it's a bit surprising to players when they learn or see, when I show them on video, that he actually opens the entire hand.
Yeah.
But again, it's down to preferences. But a lot of players keep those back fingers and the thumb and the finger too locked, too tight onto the cue, and just puts a restriction on the backswing, short backswing, snatching the shot because there's no time to accelerate. Yeah. And all the tension in the arm just pulls the cue offline.
Well, and causes a lot of miscues. So I went out on a rant a few months ago about tone chalk.
Yeah.
But now I'm back to you. I think it's great chalk. Yeah. And I've just ordered the tone soft. I've been using the tone too, and I haven't been miscuing because I'm cueing better.
Okay.
And it's nothing to do with the chalk. It's
so all a problem in chair, not in computer.
Yeah, exactly. So you exactly as you just described the tension. It's the tension that causes the miscues, and it, as you say, it reduces the cue power. Whenever I'm cueing looser with a nice grip, when I know that my grip is nice and relaxed, I generate more cue power.
Totally
effortless cue power.
Right?
Yeah. So all these things now are in my head. I've just got to, as you say, put them into practice more, and really ingrain them and stop tweaking them, and then it's repetition. It's memorizing angles. It's repetition of playing shots to gauge cue ball speed and all those things. And that, as long as your fundamentals are right, as you said earlier, it's all about practice. I've just got to try and get more hours on the table.
Yeah, I remember viewing the first videos when you sent me them for our Skype call, and I remember thinking, okay, there are some of the fundamentals that could be recalibrated here, but more so there's a lack of process on the shot. So your pre-shot routine wasn't consistent, your post-shot routine wasn't consistent, and that needed tidying up and making more repeatable.
Very much so.
It wasn't huge technical changes, it's just repeatability. And the idea is to get the attention from, as our friend John Gillard in the community says, get the attention from tip back, which is technique and process, to tip forward, which is just playing the shots.
Yep.
and getting
Yeah.
those automatic.
And now, of course, I'm playing with two pool players, watching them slide around the table into their shots.
Yeah.
You know, because at pool, you just don't need that kind of rigorous technique. You can get away with a sloppy technique because it's so much easier to make the ball.
Yeah. And then they have a false evidence procedure which says, look, I'm sliding around and jumping off the shot and clearing up. Obviously, you have to slide around the table and jump off the shot because that makes you clear up. But it's correlation isn't causation.
Exactly.
So they're clearing up in spite of, not because of. But they get found out in snooker. Yeah,
absolutely. And you watch some of the best pool players in the world, and not all of them. You know, I think Shane Van Boning is very solid. But Alex Pagulayan, like Alex Higgins, you know, just no real foundation.
So
you know, obviously he's got something going right, but he jumps off the shot exactly as you said.
So you got your basics, your default settings organized in your head. You got those repeatable. You got your process repeatable. You got your execution repeatable. What helped you in practice? What type of routines have helped you in your potting or position to knock in the 137?
I do a lot of lineup work, and as you know, one of my favorite drills is the lineup all blacks in sequence, with all the reds in sequence with
which
blacks.
You did, yeah.
Which I've only done once. But the other day I did 11 reds using the new cue ball method, looking at the cue ball.
Oh yeah.
And for the first 20 minutes of trying to do the lineup with that method, I was missing the first or second red. I just really couldn't get it. But then it kicked in, and I found it was giving me a lot better cue ball control.
Okay.
So I did 11 reds. I only did it for a little while, but it's pretty tough to do 11 reds in that drill.
Maybe more awareness of where you're hitting the cue ball, which is why position is perhaps better. But when you say lineup work, have you got different variations of lineup, like reds in sequence, no cushions, playing for the ball you play for, stuff like that? No,
I haven't. I should incorporate some of that.
Oh, okay. I think that could take things to the next level if you incorporate limitations. Not on all of your lineup times. Sometimes you've got to have freestyle, but reds in sequence, that's what your favorite, the maximum of reds in sequence. But you could go for pinks only, blues only.
Yep.
Line the reds up from the brown cushion to the blue and go for a minimum. Not much utility in that, but it's a bit of fun.
Yeah, I should do that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
And the other two main ones are no cushions allowed, and also you have to select one ball to play for on the next shot, and you have to play that shot, and no cannons.
Oh, right.
So in other words, pretending there's one other ball on the table at all times.
Yeah, and you got to be precise.
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons I like the maxi in sequence, because you've always got to finish the right side of the next red.
Yeah.
So as soon as you finish the wrong side, the break's over.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so there's a lot of inbuilt punishment there. Anything else you did in practice that in all your style of practice that helped?
I don't know. I mean, one shot that I do like to play is the blue into the onto the pink off the top cushion.
Yeah.
Right. And I couldn't get that shot right for the longest time, and I'm pretty solid at that shot now. So
on the 137, did you have to play that? Did you have to play the white off the top cushion for the pink?
I didn't actually. No, it was a fairly straightforward run through.
Okay.
But that's a shot I practice quite a bit, and it's helped me with my positional play generally. You know, I have a good understanding of where the white's going to go off the object ball, and how it's going to react off the cushion with side, and fairly accurate with that. But besides that, it's really just lineup, and then I'll do some long potting. Long straight potting is a drill I like to do, just to make sure I'm cueing straight. Besides that, I'll just spread the balls around and try and get a break. My logic on that one is because I don't put many hours on the table, I've got to put a lot of variety into my practice in terms of the type of shots that I'm faced with.
Yeah.
So if I only did lineup or I only did straight shots, I wouldn't be running into a shot where I've got to bridge over a ball and snick it in to get back on the black. So I just try to incorporate that kind of variety, just playing a frame on my own, and that's probably my favorite, because it simulates a real game, and you can get 100 break and it feels like a real 100 break.
Yeah, so set shots that are demanding from a positional percentage, lineups where you are forced to be on the right side of a ball, otherwise the break's over, and that helps. Apart from positional play, it helps your concentration as well, because it forces you to strategize the shot properly instead of just saying, "Yeah, I'll get on a red and play for a massive area."
Yeah.
So it forces you to strategize, which in turn forces concentration, and then forces precision on positional play. So probably you wouldn't have knocked in that 137 if you didn't have that culture of tight positional play.
Yeah, that's right.
What I think on that blue, that high blue, where you're coming off the top cush up for the pink, very demanding shot, especially when you have to play it from a different position on the blue, cold, every time you face the shot. If you master that type of shot, they tend to appear, or relatives of that shot appear in different places on the table, don't they?
Agreed, yeah. And the other one I like to practice is in and out of ball, between the ball colours.
On the blue, you mean?
Off the blue, yeah, exactly. That's a very demanding shot too. So I like playing that shot because it does come up quite a bit in the game, but it's a really good practice shot. For the reasons you say, if you can master that shot, you're going to be able to master a lot of similar shots. It really just focuses your attention on where the white's going, with different types of spin, right? So you get a very different reaction depending on whether you're playing with left or right side on that blue into balk. And then do I go running side to come off 2 cushions, or do I play with check side to just come off 1 and back between the green and the brown?
Yeah, and that's the type,
very precise shot.
Yeah, that's the type of shot where you can't be working that out when you're at the table in a match or on a break.
No.
Because you're just going to miss the pot with all that calculation going on. It's got to be automatic in your right hand, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think that it really epitomizes why the pros are so good, because they just get down on those shots and they're automatic. Because they've played them thousands of times, they know exactly what to do on that shot.
Yeah,
and many other shots.
Yeah, as kids, I mean, take 100 shots like that they've probably played 1,000 times each.
Yeah.
I mean, because as kids, what you do is you just put a small chalk mark on the table on that low blue, coming in and out of bulk, for example, and you just play it 100 times.
Yeah.
And you mess it up 90 times and get it right 10 times, and the next week you get it right 20 times, and eventually you're getting it right 90 out of 100.
Yep. Yeah, it really is just time on the table. But quality time as well. That's the other thing that sometimes I'll struggle with. Just the motivation to put 100% concentration into it. And there are times when I just walk away. And I don't. If I don't feel as if I'm in the right frame of mind, I'll just walk away.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, otherwise you're just building in bad habits. And,
correct. I agree.
You've got to have your mindset right. Otherwise, don't bother.
Yeah, because otherwise you're training not only about associating a bad feeling to the table and a lack of reverence and discipline to the table.
Yeah.
But also, you'll be dropping your good habits as well. So you'll be training your habits to fall away. And yeah, I'm a big fan of stopping when things don't feel right or you're tired.
Yeah, completely agree.
So that's good. So it looks like also quality time on the practice table, focused practice, doing what you can to spread the variety of your practice as well, but equally focusing in on certain shots. So having variety with focus.
Yeah, I need a bit more discipline. You know, if I'll find a shot that I can miss 10 times, and then when I get it on the 11th, I stop doing it. I think, oh, I've got it now, because I got it once out of 10. Right. Yeah, I've sorted that one now. And I move on to something else. So, I think there's a saying that the amateurs practice until they get a shot right. Pros practice until they never get a shot wrong.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I need to be a bit more disciplined on that.
Well, thanks a lot for talking us through that, and more so the elements that provided a platform on which you could just make that such an easy, uneventful break.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only thing I regret is that I don't have a coach to work with me on a regular basis. And so if anybody who has that luxury available to them, just take advantage of that, because it's the one thing I think it's holding me back now. I try and self-diagnose. You've taught me how to do that, but I just think it has its limitations. Getting feedback from somebody. Rob, for example, a couple of times said, "Well, you cued across that."
Yeah.
And I didn't feel as if I cued across it. Yeah. And it's not something that I can feel. I need somebody to give me that kind of guidance. So I think if I was living in the UK, I would be coming to see you every month. Yeah. And I would try and get somebody close to home that I could rely on, who come and watch me play. Somebody who's qualified to give me that kind of feedback on a weekly basis. And I think I would take that next step. I think I would go to another level where I was getting regular hundreds and being a better match player.
Yeah, and also probably having decent match practice as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Having a coach watch you while you're playing a match.
Yeah,
that sounds beautiful.
But I have actually started offering monthly retainers, which is very popular actually. Players enjoying the 2 or 3 hours a month option, or even 2 or 3 hours every 2 months if they don't play that much. So that's proving quite popular actually. But just to finish off, it was interesting when you said there that you cued across the ball a couple of times when you didn't realise it, and so that there'll be players listening thinking, well, you made a 137, you must be perfect, but you're still making mistakes. Ronnie is still making mistakes.
Yeah.
His mistakes are just less than most other people.
That's it, really. Yeah. And there's virtually every time I watch an amazing shot on the World Championships, I know, well, I can play that shot, right? There's no one shot I cannot play.
Yeah.
Right. But I can do it 1 in 10.
Yeah.
And they'll do it 9 in 10, as you say. That's the difference. It's just about consistency. And, that's 6 or 8 hours a day. I mean, that's the only way to get it right.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for sharing.
Yeah, my pleasure. Always good to talk, and thanks again for everything you've done for me. 137, I mean, it's so nice now to be able to say my highest break is not 128 anymore. I mean, almost 30 years it's been 128. So it's nice.
Are you 50 yet?
I'm 50 in September.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm 50 next June. So
yeah. So so 140 next. I'm going to get a 140. Let's see if I can do that before I'm 50. And then we've got the US Nationals in end of August, August 30th to September 2nd. So that's my goal, to be US champion this year.
Okay, we'll put some attention on that.
Yep. All right.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
I'll keep in touch.
Yeah.
All right, Nick. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. The professionals are thinking almost like there's only one more ball on the table. So they're thinking almost like that last red next to the pink, where I have to be perfect on this, because actually they do. To keep the break going for 4, 5, 6, 8 more shots, they do need to be that accurate. Do what a lot of players do, which is stand behind the line of the red. Okay, I've got that line, then very quickly go to the white and then play. Players feel that gives them more control, but actually it gives them less.